if you just look at the capital core temperature regulator, it requires somewhere between 2 to 4 billion, depending on how the markets have been, ISK to just build that one component. And so you're not going to get dreads under 3 billion when a single component of it is 1.5 billion, right? 3 billion is less than cost to build a dread right now. Why would they do that? Because they don't want you building dreads. You can still build dreads. It's like a soft cap on the building of capitals, right? You can still do it, but it's extraordinarily inefficient. It is far, far, far more efficient to use capitals that were already made. Use and thus destroy capitals that were already made. CCP at any time could reduce the price, the cost, or increase the availability of construction of capitals and basically open the floodgates to allow people to build them profitably again. But I'm going to just say this directly. As far as I'm concerned, the fact that capitals are unprofitable to build right now was the fucking point. And it might stay that way longer than everything else. I think, if anything, they should fix the faction stuff. And I assume that we will see a correction of things. We already see the capital parts now being dropped in the new exploration sites, which will give alleviate some of that pressure. We see the R4 moons having added into them the other parts that are needed, the PI that's needed for them to be able to do the reactions and build the stuff that's needed for battleships and capitals. And I can only assume that they're going to be doing more. So capitals are going to be able to be built again soonish, but like, let's stop surprise Pikachuing that like capitals are hard to build right now. That was the fucking point. That was the fucking point. If CCP could have just turned off capital production for 2 years, I'm sure that they considered it. I have 2 nags and a nidhogger that I used to rat in. Yeah, seriously though, if you have a capital and you can sell it for the market price right now, it's definitely a really good time to sell. The knife hand. And then no one undocks their capitals at all. Go look at the kill board, though. People have been undocking their capitals. There have been plenty of capitals used and destroyed in the last 2 years. That's a myth. It's been reduced. It's been reduced. And you know why? Because it used to be that you had no good reason to not use your capital. Now you do. Now you might have to think twice about it. If it really matters to you, you will. If it doesn't really matter to you, you won't. That's good. That's a much better decision. The fact that capitals are being used less might be a good sign. Sold your 2 nidhoggers and a jump fighter, made out pretty good. Yeah. Somebody asked earlier if the compression changes would affect hauling. I don't know, man. If anything, I think it'll actually help hauling. So no more carrier routing. That's the thing, dude. There's still, like, people are still out there doing stuff in their capitals. In fact, they just introduced the new Dread thing for, the new rogue drone site or device that uses capitals. And you know what? It isn't like a million of them being done a day, but they are being ran. Like, the idea that no one's using their capitals is an absolute falsehood. It's just, you gotta pay, it's more of a big deal when you do. That's not a bad thing. Someone just lost a 125 billion is faction carrier. Exactly. Ugh. I mean, if you're going to lose a carrier, you might as well lose faction one, right? This guy told me most, I don't know, get sucked by the ESS. No? What? Okay, so first of all, the value from the bounties will get taken by the ESS the same as any other bounty. So it's the same as ratting for the same amount. as bounties. But the mutaplasmids and stuff that you get out of that are not ESSable. Those are just raw things, and they are the only source for drone mutaplasmids. So I can only assume that that's going to make them pretty valuable. The biggest issue I have with all this is that they're that have capitals now are much stronger positions now, because anyone wanting to get into a capital to compete is at a huge disadvantage. It is true that it's like, okay, well, everybody who already had a capital, congratulations, that just became more valuable. But ultimately, like, of all of the solutions, it kind of goes back to that false positive thing, right? Like, either you're going to piss off all the people that have capitals, or you're going to piss off all the people that don't have capitals. And if you want capitals to be this like majestic thing, it should be something that's like aspired to, but also seen more as like an end game, maybe even more of a niche equipment. You know, then you can't just like destroy all of the you can't just delete all the Titans and then start over. So what you do is you shut off capital production, and then, you know, let stockpiles get torn apart, and then reopen capital production. How does a new group take on a block? How did a new group take on a block before? Hold up. If you're a new group, look, the reason why you didn't have enough supers to take space wasn't because supers got more expensive because of scarcity, okay? To a group that's just trying to take on their first, like, band of space in nullsec, congratulations. Nixes could cost 150 trillion, billion ISK for as much as it matters to them, because they can't afford it if either way. New groups should not be able to take on a block. That's actually true. They shouldn't have to take on a block. There should be, you know, the block should have their territory, and it not worth necessarily going after some smaller group. Just let them take that space, and it's not worth fighting over it. They can have it, right? It's just one or two systems. Who gives a shit? That's how you get your foothold. Like, if your notion is that you need to be able to fight supercaps to get nullsec space, here's my question for you. How do they get the fucking supercaps? Yeah, new bros, in order to make it easier for you to compete, we've made it so that everybody requires supers. Oh, wait, you need nullsec to have supers. You don't have nullsec. You can't get supers, but you have to fight other people with supers because supers are available. Yay! That's easier for new players. Or making those blocks have to fight with smaller equipment or lower tier stuff, and not using Nixes that can fight 50 people in subcaps and get away with it sometimes. Maybe that's not true, but I'm ranting now. But like that, and making it so that the deployment of that Nix is fucking trivial to that block. That's what stops the new bros, the smaller group, from being able to take territory. Not the fact that they can't build their own, because they can't build their own anyways yet. I'm sure that was everybody's point. Sorry. If it was up to every group of EVE player. It's funny because people constantly, thank you. People constantly are complaining that they want meaning in their conflict, that things like asset safety has caused them to not have any meaning in their loss. And yet, capitals are a God-given right to be affordable. You can't have both. You can't have something be affordable and meaningful to damage about your opponent. All right? Thank you for the follow, T. A new group would just get their supers and titans baited out and killed by a pan-fam. How do they get the supers? You can't build supers without sovereignty. And you have to own that sovereignty for, like, not, like 20 days? I don't know. I don't actually know how long it takes before you can start building supers, but it's not instant. my point is that they already have difficulty competing with someone who already has supers, and now those people with supers can deploy those supers without having to worry about it because they're trivial for them to replace and impossible for the new group to. Or at least not impossible, but the only way that they can replace them is by buying them from the block that's trying to kill them. This notion that nerfing roke walls makes things harder for new bros because things are more expensive is ridiculous. In fact, you know what? I help a lot of new bros. And you know what? Scarcity helped a lot of true new bros. Why? Why? Because to a guy who's in high sec mining an adventure or maybe dipping into low sec for a little bit of excitement, right? When that's his scale, guess what? That person's work just tripled in value over the last couple of years. Same thing. And it's all the same to him.
The power they would have, they would be immortal.
You took. I'm sorry, Ninja. You're right. Okay, so help me out. I'm not actually trying to yell at you. You triggered a trap card. My bad. But do you understand my point though? Which is that having Nixes be affordable actually hurts the new bros because that makes them too expendable to deploy against them. The new bro has other restrictions preventing them from having Nixes. That's the more calmer way of putting it. But yeah, by nerfing high-end stuff, sure, it reduces overall availability because these high-powered things are no longer completely overwhelming the system. But what it does is it makes it so that work from those lower tier people is more meaningful.